So for many years, I've tried to figure out the one thing that I want to do with my life. The thing that would keep me sustained and interested for the next 50 years or more. And you can probably tell from that I'm the kind of person who likes to overanalyze things. I notice that what I tend to do is always be looking forward, always be looking for the next thing. And I did think for a while there that was a problem with commitment. Not commitment to specific projects at the time, but commitment to an overall sense, and always thinking that if I can get out of a situation, if I choose to, that's what I would like. So I'm a film producer, but 2 years ago I was in the camera department, which is a completely different world. It was something that I loved doing, and it was something that I was good at, or told I was good at, but for some reason it didn't quite sit right. And that was the point when Victoria Cox, a first-time director, approached me about producing Wastelander Panda. Now, the idea was something that fascinated me from the start. It was about a panda in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and it was this huge, amazing story, but I wasn't a producer. And both of us being first-timers, I didn't know how we would go about funding this project or how it would happen. So, of course, I agreed to come on board. From that point, Wastelander Panda has unintentionally become this vehicle that has shaped my life over the last couple of years. It's been a way for me to explore, and it's forced me to learn a whole new skill set, to the point where I now do feel comfortable as a producer. We've actually been through an amazing process. Victoria and I together in the last 2 years, along with our team, have had that initial prologue seen in over 150 countries around the world. We've built an online fan base. We've run a crowdfunding campaign that raised over $25,000. We've received funding from the South Australian Film Corporation. We've written and created 3 short films from scratch. We've designed an interactive website along with Nick from Free Range to go along with that. We've travelled to Texas to present a panel at the South by Southwest Film Festival, and we're preparing to launch those 3 films and the website online at the end of the month. So it's been a huge journey, and one thing I've looked back on throughout that process is the question of how we've had so much success in such a short period of time. And I've come up with 3 key things that I think can be applied to anyone in any industry that I'd like to share with you today. But first, I'll play you the prologue.
My father once told us that water didn't always burn, that you could drink it as it was falling. But that was long before his time. Before the earth took its last breath, and with it began to die. They say the sky collapsed not long after, and that is when the chaos began. The desperation spread faster than the sudden heat could spread disease. It created monsters from the best and made the devil of the worst. My kind departed from one another so that we would not devour our own. Soon the lands were plagued by tribes and gangs in search of food and supplies. They filled the days with bloodshed, and the nights with screams from the slain. But now there is only silence. There is only ever silence. As each day grows darker, so do those who survive within it. have concealed myself from the worst of this world. Soon, it will discover me again.
So we put that trailer online in January last year, and within just 3 days it had been seen by 100,000 people around the world. And the question we asked was, why? So that brings me to the first of my key thoughts. Aim big, but start small. We live in a time where everyone's attention is so divided to the point where online we were competing not just with other emerging filmmakers or even Hollywood directors or people posting their cat videos, but we were competing with time, specifically our audience's time and what else they had to do with it. We had to create something that was more compelling than the latest episode of MasterChef on TV or their uni assignment or the kid tugging on their sleeve for attention. So aiming big worked. The other thing that aiming big helped with was the sense that we had less competition. As first-time filmmakers, we could have gone out and made something simple, a film about people, for example, set in Adelaide. But aiming big helped people to sit up and take notice when we put that trailer online. And to my eye, we've had a ridiculous amount of attention for what is literally just a 3-minute film, but it's helped us to move forward from there. My second point is divide and conquer. What I mean by that is the opportunity to create a world that is not just about one thing. Wastelander Panda came because Victoria Cox, the director, wanted to create a world based on video games. She's a massive gamer and she loves the idea of going out and exploring a world and not necessarily having one set path through it. That meant that from the start she designed the Wasteland rather than designing Wastelander Panda. And she's created this huge world that covers the tribes and the gangs that live in the different corners, right down to the healing properties of certain plants. And this means that that division creates an opportunity for us to go on down the track and not just make a film, but to potentially make a TV series, to make a graphic novel series, or to make a video game. My final point is ask what's in it for them, and this is one that has had a huge impact on the project. When we were promoting the film online, we made a point of going out and targeting our message to many different audiences, but we also asked what would make people want to write about us. In our crowdfunding campaign, for example, we didn't just go out there expecting that journalists would write that we wanted to raise money. So instead we held something that we called a 24-hour pandathon. And this pandathon involved the whole crew staying awake for 24 hours in an attempt to raise money. Now, what we actually did in that 24 hours was pretty boring. We tended to sit around in my lounge room and send out press releases. But the fact that we had created something compelling and something that made the story interesting got us a lot of attention in the press. That concept of asking what's in it for them was put to true test when we applied for funding through the South Australian Film Corporation. Now, when we first went to them with the project, we couldn't even get a meeting because we were so inexperienced. But after we had made that prologue, we spoke to them and they offered us the opportunity to apply for a small amount of money. Unfortunately, it wasn't what we needed to make the films at the film quality we wanted. So we sat down and asked ourselves, what is it that they would be concerned about? What is it that they want to see in our application? And we set out to prove that everything we were doing with the project could be done. Now, our application ended up being over 200 pages long, and looking back, that seems completely ridiculous and excessive, but it did help to give them that sense of confidence in us, or at least in our work ethic. They funded us for over 7 times the initial amount they had mentioned, and we were also the first film in Australia to be funded by a state agency without having the traditional market distribution or broadcaster requirement. So it was a huge step, and I think the key to changing the system was to ask, why is that system there? What are its needs, and what can we do to make sure that those needs are met in other ways? So over the last 2 years, I've realised that this commitment problem I thought I had was more a sign that I need to start looking for not what it is that I want to do with my life, but what it is that I want to do with my life for now. And after 2 years, Wastelander Panda is still that thing. So I want to encourage all of you to also find that thing that compels you the most, that idea that captivates you, and then take the opportunity to set that into motion. Go out, start big, or start to aim big, but then end small. Divide and conquer, and finally, ask people what they want. And then set out on your own journey of exploration. Thank you.